I hope you're enjoying this big exclusive via the Judge Joe Brown Show. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Now, back to the show.
This show is sponsored by myoliveleaf.biz, myoliveleaf.biz, and the Hurricane Report, merchandise, and more.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Whoa. Is this a good time to talk about the presidential debate?
Let's talk about the presidential debate. Biden got his ass kicked good. He roasted his ass. He said, let's start with the funny one. He said, people under our administration would die better of COVID-19 than under another 4 years of you. Like, how in the hell is somebody going to die better? It's crazy. Then you get that thing about Trump threw at him. He said, but you built those cages. So somebody on Twitter released a photograph of the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security inspecting the cages full of children built under the Obama-Biden era. And they got a nice thing, too. The Justice Department released statistics showing that the last year and a half, the incarceration rate of black defendants in the federal system has drastically dropped, bringing it down 31%, which is the lowest since 1995, which was in that 94 Biden bullshit kicking in. See, you guys these days don't run to dozens for recreation in elementary, junior high, and high school. So you got to have a comeback. So, okay, brother, I understand you want to keep your ass on the slave plantation. Okay, there's a slave. We'll give you some ham hocks and let you go with that, all right? But I'm a free man. I came off that plantation. So you just turn it. Okay, slave, you want to be a slave? Don't listen to the slaves. See, that's how you deal with it. Slave is a slave. If he thinks like a slave, fine. I don't mind if you can't stand Trump. But, when somebody says, I think he's got the best policy, don't try to besmirch him. You're trying to get Trump. You're part of the white supremacy. No, I'm just not a slave like you. So what have the jackasses done for you ladies? Name one damn thing. Except give away the effect of your votes to some folk that want to get a big debate going about who pisses in the girls' room besides the girls.
Yeah. Judge, I watched parts of the debate, too, and a lot of stuff when I saw Biden, he got caught lying,
yes,
about
did.
some things or not being truthful, especially about the COVID-19 pandemic. I was doing a live stream with Sean, and the first thing Biden said is that something of the effects that Europe is getting out of this wave of the coronavirus. They're still in there. They just got a second wave of it.
Exactly. Wait a minute. Did you see that stuff that's going around today where they released a film clip of him years ago withdrawing from a political race because he got busted in law school for plagiarism and later falsifying his academic record to conceal it? They got him admitted.
I didn't see that.
He's apologizing. It's going around on Twitter now. And he's talking about who you going to believe. I'm a man, like that thing last night he was trying to pull off. No. Liar and a cheat.
Right. And, when they talk about racism, I want to ask you this because I actually saw somebody posted this, a picture of him buddying up with Strom Thurmond. But you mentioned he had a bill before.
Wait a minute. The crime bill in 94 ain't the one. It was the 79 and 80 crime bill. Senator Strom Thurmond, that great senator he and I have collaborated on this bill. One rock will get you 5 years mandatory in the federal penitentiary. One rock. We have changed the guidelines so the judges have no discretion. One rock, you go to jail for 5 years. 10 rocks, you get 10 years. That's the new law. Senator Strom Thurmond. And I was in Delaware in 1972 when that racist bastard was running for U.S. Senate, where he got in there in 73. He had Faubus. He had George Wallace in a wheelchair. He had John B. Stennis, that racist. He had Strom Thurmond. He had Burt. He had every old line Dixiecrat asshole driving around there trying to campaign for him, talking about he is the new wave of the Dixiecrats. That's what they called it. He understands the Negro and the Negro problem. God damn.
Yeah. That was Strom Thurmond created
that. Jesse Ham, North Carolina.
Yep.
I just wanted to let you guys know the person I was talking about. Her name is Roxanne Gay. Roxanne Gay. And she was on Twitter talking about, good Lord, how much are they paying Ice Cube? That's a lady who attended an all predominantly white school. So she wasn't even informed when she texted that.
Let's go put her back in a zoo someplace. Go house Negro.
Are you familiar with who I'm talking about? She said
a white house Negro.
It said, good Lord, how much are they paying Ice Cube? How's the WA become a MAGA?
How much did they pay her? How much did they pay her? See, remember, Rhonda Dozen,
white woman too.
Rhonda Dozens. How much did they pay her ass? How much did they pay her? That's the question. They didn't have to pay Ice Cube anything. Any self-respecting, intelligent black man might do what he did. How much are you getting? You want to be something or another?
But
want to be nothing.
What my sister asked about, who qualified to speak to black people? I say we all are. Everybody talking, but until we get our invisible empire like they got, then all we doing is talking. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. I don't want to put it out there because I know the recording. But until we start doing what we're supposed to do with some soldiers, this invisible empire, then we'll get somewhere.
True.
Yeah. What is she getting out the deal to talk that poison? Reverse it.
I don't know. She writes for the New York Times.
Oh, that
Valerie.
46 years old.
Valerie can fart without permission.
Valerie.
She lives in Nebraska. Maybe that's
she's talking about.
Handkerchief head. She writes for the New York Times. Your ass been bought off. She ain't got crap to say. Ask her why she's writing for the New York Times and what her conditions are and what she is permitted to do.
She's right.
See, that's where you come back on.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if you go to Wikipedia and look her up, she's married to a white woman. So she right then and there, that should cancel everything she's got to say because she's up there trying to attack Cube.
She's a man-hating lesbian feminist.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Man-hating lesbian feminist. And all feminists don't hate.
Yeah.
She happens to be. Yeah, now we know.
She has 790,000 followers on Twitter.
So what?
Look, Valerie. Can I say something right quick?
No, I'm saying that yeah.
Yesterday, can you hear me? I was just saying
you're loud.
Okay, it's time for some of these women to get these black feminists in line. Put them in their goddamn place. Tell them, shut the hell up. You ain't contributing to the table. You ain't trying to bring no bacon home. All you doing is trying to serve your masters. You don't serve. Shut the hell up or we're going to come get you. The men can't hit you. So you got to, sometimes you got to go back after them. You got to fight fire. Huh?
That's right. Because if one of us go after the attack them, they going to call us all the names. The judge starts talking shit about them, then they going to call us male chauvinistic. So y'all really got to
chauvinist pig anyway. They can call me a male chauvinist pig.
And you tell them, like I said, put them on an island and leave them out there and stranded. If you want to say you want to go on a sex strike, fine. Give me some. I can put it with someone else. Ain't no problem. Shit.
Straight women need to get on them and say, look, shut up and quit talking about our man. You got a pussy and you eat pussy. What's wrong with you?
That's right.
Go over and
I'm going down the 5-ass boys and running around. I'm going to put a 2x4 on their ass. All these punk-the-5 boys, hey, we got to cut that shit out, man.
Most people don't know what they need to do to really come up with a plan, and most can't. So that's where the leadership comes in. It can be theoretical. It can be in the field. It can be follow me, come along, this is what we need to do. And that is an important thing that we have to get into. So follow me, somebody that strategizes the whole thing. We need both. And leadership, by the way, is not something that is bestowed. Leadership is seized. Right.
And see, I like to add this right here. Our problem is we always be depending on one leader. Then that leader get bumped off, then everybody be walking around like a herd of cats. So what if a man Ice Cube would have had Judge with him, either Dr. Claude Anderson, some other wise brother with him on his council? So when he go confront the devil, he got some people with him. That's what the whole problem. Depending on one leader, that leader get bumped off, and then we go.
You don't go by yourself.
Huh?
You need somebody to have your back. You need somebody to have your back.
Yeah.
You don't meet these people by yourself. You got to fight fire with fire. You got to bring your people too.
That's right. The SQ should have had somebody with him, man. Maybe he got somebody in the background with him, with like Judge or Dr. Claude Anderson, somebody that's been out here a little while longer, man. That's how you got to do. In case you get bumped off, then, everybody will be ready to step up. You can't go out there by yourself. You get bumped off. Dr. King and all our other leaders saw that.
I don't think, Wes, that he anticipated that type of energy. I think that because he thought, I'm going to take this contract and present it to both parties, he expected both parties to respect, number one, his celebrity, two, the fact that he was conservative. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he anticipated the outcome. And a lot of these celebrities, again, who, to a certain degree, I understood what D.L. Hughley was saying, because a lot of these people are inexperienced and unqualified.
Yeah, what he had was something that needed work, if I might say that.
Right.
It needed work, but he was trying. I'll give him an A for effort and a B- for
and their work
content,
and he did
and
work with some other people. Right, and I would just say he did, Valerie. He did work with some people, and he even did work with had been in touch with Dr. Claude Anderson. There was some things in there where he talked about the banking institutions that I agreed with. On the other hand, if you had to choose, would you rather him or Charles Barkley speak? Because then when we talk about who are the qualified people,
I'd rather neither. I'd rather
you want neither. But when the qualified people try to talk to the others in power, they get criticized as well because they've never reached out. I mean, Trump had, my understanding, Jared Kushner was talking with Dr. Claude Anderson and had conversations with him. When he went to the Clinton campaign, they didn't want to talk to him either. There are people who are just finding out more about who Dr. Claude Anderson is, just thanks to the fact that he's made those appearances on a Breakfast Club. But black people, we knew about him for a long time. So
guess what?
Now everybody is talking
Attorney
about
Rashad, what do you think about this idea? Maybe we got to do the spook who's set by the door kind of tactic. You know what I'm saying? And put Ice Cube in the front and then show up with the intellects. You know what I'm saying? The Judge Browns and all the other people that you just mentioned. We need to do exactly what Wes mentioned and go and consult with these people. And if they don't want to listen to them, then send Ice Cube, but make sure
what's the difference?
Train him like he's training for the Olympics. I don't know what you got to do, but don't send him in there where he looks like NWA.
But what was the difference between him speaking versus Cardi B interviewing Joe Biden? Nobody criticized her for that.
Insulting. It's
Cardi B is a hoe.
insulting.
Cardi B is a hoe, and the slaves admire the hoes who actually get fucked in the upstairs bedrooms. She admitted being a streetwalker. That's a real hoe. That's pimps and hoes. So,
but my point is nobody. But my point is nobody was coming at her. Nobody was coming at her.
Well,
like
I
they
am,
do
but they don't cover it. You are. Valerie is. Everybody on this particular venue, we come at the slut because she is. She's a street walking hoe who admitted it, proud of it.
Yeah.
And the colored folk love to have their hoes because they think that's all they can do, with a delusion that is somehow or another they're smarter, but they aren't smart. Otherwise, they start thinking about the long-term thing, which is, looky here, wow, whoopee, there's this thing called the historical record. What are you doing for it?
Yeah.
This is all the folk talking about. Yeah, anyway, I'm off of it.
Judge, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, let me say something to you and Wes. I do appreciate both strong black men, but I want to say something. When I was taught, this is how I was taught. The older men is for counsel, and the younger men is supposed to lead the pack because we the soldiers. You got to sit in the back room, and we got to bring you to the table. That's why I said Ice Cube made his mistake. You don't go to the people by yourself. That's what I said. If you want to be a soldier, you bring the older guys for the council. That's what you do. That's how
I have no disagreement with that. But you know what somebody like me is? You ever seen Star Trek, the later editions where they got Spock, the old ambassador? See, I got to be an ambassador. That's what we do. See, 50 years ago, 55, 53, 52 years ago, I'm sitting down with these brilliant white folk who are chancellor of the university and everything, and we're negotiating with them about what we're going to get if we don't burn something up, or understand we're not claiming any responsibility, but you have 3 professors that caused you difficulty because they took emergency sabbaticals 3 weeks into the semester because somebody broke their jaw or their arm or leg. See, we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Hey, did y'all remember when Trump first got elected?
Wes, can I ask Gavin a question real quick, Wes? Can I ask Gavin a question real quick? Gavin, I want to know, there are a lot of intelligent black people, a lot of intelligent black artists who probably could have done a better, I won't even say better job because I'm really proud of Ice Cube. I'm Team Ice Cube. Do you, when you asked that, and you were like, who? There are a lot of smart people who could have
the man that sings
"I
Want
Want
for My Birthday" is a big booty hoe. Say the band that sings the song "I Want for My Birthday" is a big booty hoe.
That's what I was explaining to Lauren. I don't think that there is I don't know who we could because everything is so stained. But I'm just saying to have an intelligent conversation.
There are a slew of people. There are a slew of professionals. If you want to talk about criminal justice reform, you could talk to Judge Joe Brown or Michelle Alexander, who did the book, The New Jim Crow. You can talk to people like your black attorneys if they want to. But let's keep in mind also that they have always, the White House in general, whenever they want to reach out to the black community, has always been where they talk to celebrities because they know they have access to things and people actually listen to them. For instance, when Barack Obama was president, remember he had Rick Ross and Nicki Minaj in the White House talking about criminal justice reform. Let's not forget here on the flip side of it with Trump, you got Kim.
Let me offer a different perspective. Let me offer a brief different perspective. Former law office represented Al Gore from before he became a U.S. Senator, and they still do. One of the reasons that you see what you see is they are out of touch with the common black man. So they go to the only ones they can detect and get in contact with, and those are the celebrities. That is not necessarily because they perceive it. They just have no idea who they need to talk to. And right now, for example, me and some other people were working on a project, and we had a conference with some people we got it directed to by the Trump administration, and it was quite a number of people in the room who were going to help him, right? So the conduit that was supposed to be in place was being manned by some people whose status was, we have connections and we can grant access. So there's this bunch of people that could have helped him. They sabotaged it to keep from jeopardizing their positions as the chosen Negroes who can turn the White House on to these people they need to get connected with. See, that's how it works. And it's sort of like the minister who is guarding the door, and you want to see the king or the duke or the earl. You know, you got to bribe that dude so you can get in and see the guy you want to see.
Yeah, the gatekeeper. Hey, I want to ask y'all a question, Judge. Y'all remember when Trump was first elected? We saw Kanye West sitting up in there and Jim Brown. What came out of that? Okay, that's a young dude in the
Kanye. That's Kanye. Remember Kim Kardashian, Slutty Kim, does this. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I didn't bring this up before, but on the other subject, I think the Kardashians, Kim, keep bringing it up because his mommy is supposed to have been screwing OJ, but you know that's the other thing too. But it is what it is when they get into doing what they do. Now, people have hustles, and one of the old-time hustles is being able to control access. That's one of the oldest hustles. What are you going to give me if I get you in to see the boss?
Yep.
That's why you see all of this celebrity stuff.
Do you guys think that the whole goal is not to give us any leverage? They only see you as entertainers. They are not looking for truth.
No. Politics.
They're not looking to change. Is that way?
I've campaigned before. One of the hardest parts about putting your campaign staff together is to get some people that will work wholeheartedly on your behalf instead of pigeonholing stuff that would help you so they can get an advantage out of it. You have to find out who's really doing what they say they can do and what that really means so you don't get stuck with somebody that's a charlatan. Like, I had a private gathering for about 50 folk. They were contributing money. I was running for DA. And one of the people that had volunteered to do video recording, this stupid idiot, recorded me talking to some of the limited people in this restricted access venue, and we were discussing the lesbianism of my opponent for DA. So that wasn't supposed to get out but without checking with anybody. Oh, I thought it would be helpful. I said, you airhead idiot.
Damn.
Fucking fired, fool.
Yeah. Was that... Yeah, that was when you were running for DA, right? Back in 2014?
Yeah.
Right, I saw
you
that.
Got
they
like that. That's always a danger. What do you do about the fools? And the ones that are in place, but that's why Trump fired so many people. He's a businessman, and that's what he does. Remember on The Apprentice, you're fired, you know? That's why he fired so many, because there are a bunch of people that were functionaries, that somebody's uncle contributed, that somebody did this, somebody did that, and then when you gave them a chance, they couldn't do what they claimed to be able to do.
Right. I thought he won last night.
I did too.
I thought he won the debate.
Can you guys break
do you
it
think
down? Because you just keep saying that. Can we talk about it for the next 20 minutes? Why do you think he won?
What, the debate?
Why won the debate? Tell us.
Oh, well, first off, I watched the highlights of it, and I watched the first part on it. And, it was much more organized than the first one that they had. I think that he hit on a lot of points, especially the biggest point that I saw from the highlights was you had 8 years to do something, Joe. If you were serious, you never did it. So, and if you looked at it, Joe was stumped at some of those things. Somebody told me, and I didn't see this, but he apologized for the 1994 crimes bill. if I'm not mistaken.
He did. He tried to say, our policy is to get people out of jail. And Biden said, Trump said, but you have the responsibility for all of them being in there.
He said it was a mistake. That's what he said.
He said it was a mistake. He never really apologized. Remember something, too. He was asked months before to apologize for it, and he said, I apologize. He doubled down on it. Remember when he was on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne? That's when he said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Before that, they were asking him about the crimes bill, and he doubled down, saying there was nothing wrong with it. So he got really, honestly, I think he got stuck like Chuck, because they were able to, Trump was right. You had 8 years as vice president. I told people this before. When he was vice president, he could have done some stuff if he wanted to. What's the difference? What's his difference that he's going to bring 4 years that he didn't do in 47?
What I told you, Gavin, what did I say today? You texted me on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And I said, if you put a gun in my head, I'll take the shot if it's Biden. If you tell me to put a gun in my head, vote for Trump, I'll vote for Trump. That's what I said, because that bastard last night actually sat right there and said it wasn't true that he called. Well, it actually called us predators, not super predators, but he said it wasn't true. And then the worst part about it was that he sat up there and said that they tried to do anything. But look here, man. Obama was in Philadelphia the other day talking about. And I sat right up there and watched that goddamn Barack Obama sit right there like the fucking, he coon, biracial, whatever the fuck he is, and sit right there and talked about gender equality, racial equality, and nobody should. I said, you're trying to go win a presidency, telling you that vote down the ticket. Hell no, don't vote down. I'm this moment trying to really get somebody jacked up. I said, is losing it. But I want to say something. I don't know if anybody realizes today. Trump's approval rating among blacks in the Rasmussen poll went up to 46%. And not only that, not only his approval rating, 74% of people in a poll said he won that debate last night. So this is about to be a smooth sailing in the feminist.
Right.
Get ready, because it's about to be a long, long 4 years. It's something no pop up before then.
Yeah,
did he address Biden's crime criminal? With his crime in his family? He
got on his ass good. He got on him, Valerie. And Biden couldn't do anything but try to deflect. What
about Trump's tax accounts, Judge?
Oh, Trump.
What about his accounts in China?
$50 is most probably the filing fee or the fee to the attorneys, and he said he's prepaid it. He said the reason you haven't seen it is I worked out a deal with IRS. I had prepaid my taxes, millions of dollars prepaid, waiting on a refund, and they had been auditing me. And then when I announced for president, they did not pay the audit period, so it hasn't finished. But I paid millions of dollars in tax. I used to do that too, so that way you could.
So you can prepay your taxes.
Yeah,
you can do that.
I did that. Put up $2 or $3 million.
Because I got people on here who. I'm saying that because I see people on Facebook that says he's lying. You can't do stuff like that. I've never heard of it.
You can.
You said you've done it.
Do it all the time.
Don't say nothing. Yeah. Don't say nothing to incriminate yourself, because you might need to push you forward as our leader. So don't say nothing.
No, I mean, here, look. What
they this on tax crime,
to avoid audit,
from your buddy,
and to avoid having to have your accountants work everything up every quarter, or somebody like him might have to pay every week. I had to pay every quarter, 4 times every 12 months I had to pay. So rather than go through all of that, we'd prepay the stuff and just file an update in an anticipatory taxes, and then you'd get a refund. It'd make a hell of a lot of difference.
I want to ask everybody, if you guys think it would make a difference if Donald Trump, I'm going to say President Trump because we're talking about debate, President Trump would address all the things that Kamala Harris has done to black people, do you think it would make a difference as opposed to Biden? Everybody knows
it would.
Biden.
Yes, he would.
So why do you think he hasn't, made a full-fledged
Let me tell you why I
her?
think he hasn't. Let me tell you why I think he hasn't. That group I was telling you about that got blocked, there were people in there that had detailed layouts of what Kamala Harris and Biden had done. And if these clowns hadn't cut us off so we couldn't get this higher up, he might have that information. But you see, his sources of information are being cut off by, of course, black folk always got a selfish damn interest instead of thinking of the big picture. So rather than him getting it, he doesn't have it. See, all kinds of little things. Well, you might want to deal with this. You might want to deal with that. Campaign staff, if you considered so-and-so. Like, for example, I've offered to do something. Somebody calling up asking me for $100 for such and such. I said, look, wouldn't you prefer that I give you $500 and I'm acting as a spokesman? Why don't you have somebody call me? Or like NRA, I'm offering to do some commercials about this thing about protecting the Second Amendment. You can't get anybody to call you because all these folk are trying to protect what's going on. I got a censure here, and I don't want anybody messing with my thing. So nothing happens.
But Judge, all it takes is a simple Google. He's got a team and a daughter and a son.
No, but
you
can't get to these people. They are not going to let you directly.
I don't understand why the whole PR team can't just do proper research and then tear the whole house down.
Because they got a game going on, and they do not want to rank out their game.
Okay.
That is one of the fundamental problems with politics. It's like, for example, when McGovern was running against that charlatan Ronald Reagan, Gil Scott-Heron had a hit recording out called B-Movie. Grecian Farm LeBou, Who's in Charge, and all. The Democratic Party was unaware of it, and if they had been aware of it, they would have played it over and over and over as part of their campaign theme. Just have it running along with their commercials. I mean, and it would have been devastating to the Republicans, but they didn't do it. This is back 1984. They didn't know about it.
Huh. Okay.
Go ahead.
Sometimes it's hard. Really, look, man, I've gotten to the point where I try not to do, or post or comment too much because you got a lot of sissy boys out there, or people, girls that got their panties in a bunch that get upset. No offense to the ladies that are listening, but there's some that get upset because you have a difference in opinion. And I try to watch it, from time to time, because I'll see people that'll comment. Like I saw people just one dude that was hollering and ranting about how dare Ice Cube meet with Trump and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh gosh. It's because it's like I'm saying before, I don't think whoever met with Donald Trump just because they have the mantra of Trump being a racist, it didn't matter whether this person, Valerie, was qualified or not. They're still going to look at it bad because you got no business meeting with the man in the first place. That's the way they look at it. They didn't call because they called it.
They met with the administration, not him.
Right. They didn't meet with him, but still having any association with him is bad. It's just like when the HBCU presidents met with Donald Trump, a lot of people calling them coons and sellouts, even though part of being presidents of colleges, universities, especially a public institution like a Southern University or a Grambling or so forth, you have to get funding from the federal government. So there's business that has to be done. So it doesn't matter, if you don't like it or not, it's something that they wanted to do. They needed funding.
So why didn't Obama fund an HBCUs when
Bernard,
Wait
you're really muffled. Bernard, I can't hear nothing
parallel
you're
on
saying.
that,
You're really
Bernard.
muffled.
Bernard, parallel on what you're saying. Parallel on what you're saying, Bernard. Last night when Trump got on him about meeting with Kim Jong-un, and Biden was trying to say Obama wouldn't meet with him. See, it's that crap. We don't like him, so we're not going to talk to you. See, that's a punk-ass move because it's emotionalism, not hardcore masculine rationality. You talk to everybody, you know? But see, right. That was their defense. And then remember when Trump came back on him and said, well, the truth of the matter is Kim wouldn't talk to him. You know, he didn't.
And let me tell y'all something about social media, man. Okay? So my man just said something about Facebook. When you post something and somebody replies, that could be a bot, man, a robot, or somebody posing to be black, man. So you can't take all that stuff that people be posting to be the real deal, man. I told you I studied counterintelligence, man. That probably wasn't even nobody black, man. Okay, so you got to take this shit as a grain of salt, man, about this social media, man. Okay, they got all kind of AI bots and all that stuff, man, and fake Negroes and all that, bro. So I don't even get upset by nothing like that.
Hey guys, right now you're listening to the voice of Valerie Denise Jones. Hope and pray that you're having a great day. Gotta go because I'm prepping for a live interview. Judgejoebrown and Dr. Boyce Watkins will be live today at 4. Also, I got some more edits. David Banner, MC Shan, Chuck D. I don't know. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, so bear with me. Again, one-woman show. And all the bonus features and full audio, of course, will be on Patreon. Patreon.com/Valerie Denise Jones. Patreon.com/Valerie Denise Jones. Today, I combined 2 sessions instead of just giving you one because I want to get the content out regarding the election. So prepare yourself for Get Your Booty to the Poll. Get your booty to the poll. Yeah, that was a fun one. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you got your non-alcoholic libations because you're definitely going to need it. Anyway, big shout out to Wanisha Jeffrey and Myra F. MIRAF. They sent Cash App support while I was editing. Thank you. Love you to life. Appreciate that. And guys, please. You know, I keep telling you, I want to go to video live streams and give you more bang for the buck. Please make sure that you sign up for Patreon. Cash App, $Valerie Denise, Cash App, $Valerie Denise, because I need these platforms to start paying for themselves. So I want to give you video. That's on my vision board. Anyway, guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go. Again, giving you 1, not 2. So please enjoy. Meet you down in the comment section. Love you to life. Bye.
Get your booty to the poll.
Get your booty to the poll. Get your booty to the poll.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too.
Yeah, ladies first. I want to start with Angela. You could give us your backstory. Let us know who you are. And then Paul, if you could just come in afterwards and introduce yourself. And then we're going to break down what the video is about, what your initial thoughts were, how you raise money, et cetera, okay? All right, so Angela, we will start with you.
Hi, I am Angela Barnes, and I am an Atlanta native. I'm a TV director and single mom of 2 awesome boys, and I have an older stepson who's also a grown man. And part of why we did this video is that I wanted a better world where my sons would grow up and not have to be ignored like they have been, and make sure that they know that their voices are important and to use those voices.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Paul, if you could come in.
People. I just wanted for the record, I'm a black woman, though, because I think some people on the internet have been speculating as to whether or not this is a white Democrat way that white Democrats somehow see us as this or whatever. Both Paul and I are black people, black Atlantans. I think Atlanta is a very important part of the spot, just for the record.
Thank you. Appreciate that so much. Paul, I know you're black. True. I once upon a time worked with you, so yeah, unless you did the Michael Jackson on me, I know you're black.
No, I'm still black, I promise you. I promise. My name is Paul Fox. I am also an Atlanta native. I grew up here. I live here. I work here. I work primarily as a prop master, but sometimes I produce things, and this is a thing that I produced. And I was very happy to work with Angela on this project.
Paul, how did you go from SCAD to this? Like, how did you go? What was the inspiration behind that? Because, I know that SCAD is kind of low key, not as edgy as possible unless you're talking horror thriller. But yeah, how did you evolve from SCAD, what you did there, to now? Could you just explain that real quick, the process? Because we have a lot of young filmmakers and people trying to get into the business who listen to our show.
That's a great question. You know what? When I was at the Savannah College of Art and Design, I went to school in Savannah, and while there, I did a lot of networking. And I met a lot of people, even if we didn't agree and see eye to eye all the time. I met a lot of people, and I made a lot of friends, and I made a lot of contacts. And after, when I graduated, I moved to Atlanta, which is where I'm from. I was debating on going to L.A. or New York, but when I moved back to Atlanta, it was at a time that the film industry was booming there, or was beginning to blossom. And so I came back at a good time. And what happened is that a lot of my friends that I had networked, made connections with, were getting jobs. And people were asking them, hey, do you know anyone else who can work? Do you have another guy? Do you know someone? And so I was recommended a lot. And that's how I got into the film industry in Atlanta. A lot of people that I went to school with recommended me to get there. So for several years, I refused to join a union. I was a production assistant. And finally, I did join AUDS. And in doing that, I was able to move the ladder quickly from being a property assistant to being a property master. And the whole time, I still just kind of produced small projects on the side. And that's how I got to here.
Definitely appreciate that. All right, so Angela, I want to go to you because I had a chance to do sort of a short interview before we got started, and hopefully we'll get some more promo from you. I don't know where that noise is coming from. I'm trying to control it. I can't control it on this end, so it must be coming from one of the phones. But yeah, if either of you aren't speaking, if you could just mute your phone, that would be great. That way I can isolate that background noise because I've done all I can do on this side. So, Angela, at this time, I would like for you to share with the listening audience, why you decided to do this in July during the quarantine, and I won't script it, but I'll just let you take it from there. If you could just give us a little insight as to what was going on in your mind before you put this down on paper.
Well, when the quarantine started up in mid-late March, and I'm friends with a lot of other directors, and it's funny because we never get together because all of us are all working. So we would do these Zoom calls with 30 or 40 of us on there just all talking. And it came up the world was it felt like the world was falling apart. We were quarantined. There was a lot of, the George Floyd incident happened when he was murdered by the police. And we just wanted to do, we felt a lot of not just despair that we would see in our social media timelines and from our friends and stuff, but also giving up, almost what's the point? Nothing's going to change. And we're we should use our talents as storytellers to encourage Black people to use their voice. And, all of us had kind of different ideas about how to go about that, but in talking to some of the directors that were based in Atlanta, we were we want to do something that is just for us, just for Atlanta. Because a lot of guys are in California, New York, which are largely blue states. And we were Atlanta is kind of it's bluish, it's like violets right now. It's almost, sometimes it's a little purple. But we're let's get it blue. And then we thought about it because I am not nonpartisan. Get Your Booty to the Poll is nonpartisan. I am not. And then we thought, it's not about turning it blue. It's not about telling people who to vote for. Why don't we just get people to use their voice, And when thinking about what can we do as we're not even an organization. We have no budget. We have nobody giving us money to, like, promote it or pay for advertising or anything like that. We need something people are going to want to share. We're going to want something that's informative, that it tells people, like, gives people action, not just saying to vote, but, like, why it's important to vote and how they can go about doing it. And we wanted it to be, like, quintessentially Atlanta. And when people think of Atlanta, they think of two things. They think of Coca-Cola and strip clubs. And so for me, in talking to different groups of people, and Mondale Robinson from the Black Male Voter Project was extremely helpful in terms of, like, not just black men as a whole, but there's also just black men that aren't the ones that are out there with a ton of money, that aren't the ones that are out there that, that vote, that are registered, but are vote in not as many elections. Is part of it is because nobody's talking to them. And I was like, wow, so, let's do something for those guys. Like, this spot was never intended to get all black people to vote. This spot was never intended to get all black men to vote, because all black men don't like strip clubs. All black people don't like strip clubs. Some do. I mean, I don't even know if most of them do. Some do. And the ones that do are the ones that I was targeting, because people from Atlanta get it. Even if they don't like it, they get it. And for me, saying it's not just about the president, because people are kind of going between these guys, who cares? But I'm like, it's not just about the president. I mean, do you want a DA that's going to prosecute bad cops? Guess what? Fulton County has a DA election on the ballot. Do you care about whether or not you can get arrested for something, and if you can't afford bail, you could sit in jail for like a year without a trial? Is that okay with you? If it's not, elect people who don't think it's okay. Because the government will not act like Black Lives Matter until we put people in those elected offices that believe that Black Lives Matter. And for me, all Black lives matter, not just respectable Black lives. And these people were ignored. So, that's why I did it. And I have sons, like I said, I want a world where my guys can just worry about regular stuff. I want them to worry about who they're going to date. I want them to worry about what they want to do for a living. I want them to worry about what they're going to do for the world, to give back to the world. I don't want them to have to worry about, if I get pulled over, I might die. Or if I walk past the wrong person at the wrong time, I might get arrested for something that's not my fault and then rot in jail. I don't want them to have to worry about that stuff. And that stuff's not going to change until we start holding politicians accountable.
I gotcha. And Paul, before I move forward, I'd like to ask you, Angela, how do you feel about the fact that people are just solely focused on the fact that they think that the exotic dancers are using their body, their flesh, their moves on the poll to get people to the election? So, it's sort of a distraction, and then it's insulting because they feel like you could have gotten your message out a different way. And then, Paul, I'd like to hear what you've got to say before we bring in Judge.
Yes, they're absolutely right. I could have got my message out a different way, and I chose not to because I needed something that people were they haven't seen before, and people are missing the message. What's more offensive? A grown woman wearing the clothes that she wants to wear, saying the words that she wants to say, to deliver a message that she thinks is important, doing the dance moves that she wants to do, or a government that ignores and incarcerates to an overwhelming number Black people and Black men. To me, the second is much more offensive. So having, respectability politics is its own separate conversation. I'm never going to convince somebody who believes that somehow using your body in that way is wrong. I see dance teams out there doing stuff that's the same as the stripper moves, and people are cheering at the games for them, and that's no big deal. I see massage therapists rubbing people's bodies that feels good, but somehow if it's something that's remotely sexual, it becomes a bad thing. To me, your body is your body. If it's consensual and it's legal, then shut up about it.
I get you. I talked to a bunch of men, and they were like, I really don't think that women have just can give me advice regarding career and, school and, just whatever was featured in the video. And I just think that they were like, there's no way I'm thinking about the election and I'm watching women slide up and down a pole. I'm thinking about how can I get in their panties? How can I do this and that? So that was just that. And I'm going to leave that there because I'd rather you have that discussion with Judge. And, whatever you guys want to say, like I told you, I would open this up and give you an opportunity to do that because I know that you said that when you guys put this project together, this was not the reception that you expected. You had a different intention. Paul, could you please come in at this time? And if you got anything to say before we open up the mic and allow Judge to speak to you. And I don't know Judge's position regarding this, so I'm going to say that in advance. But, this is the Judge Joe Brown show, so he is definitely open to say whatever he wants to say via this platform. So, Paul, if you could come in at this time.
Yeah, I'm very proud that this video has gotten so much attention because I feel like we're at a point where it is changing the conversation. It's changing the conversation about how we discuss politics generally. It's changing the conversation about how we address how black men feel about politics. Now, whether they like this video or not, we are talking about the message. We're talking about the way that it's displayed, and we're talking about the delivery of it. And so I really, really appreciate all of those things. I appreciate, seeing all the different women who have different opinions about this whole idea. Because Angela is right. A lot of the women that we have in our video, they chose to be a part of our video. This was a message that resonated with them. These are ideas that they have. And because of the work that they do, a lot of people don't want to hear from them. It's that same shut up and dribble mentality. You stay in your lane and I'll stay in mine, but my lane is bigger than yours because I don't do what you do. Well, I don't agree with that. I'm very happy that we have these people come and be a part of our message and our campaign and help get that all out there. Because this is our country. America is not made up of just, attorneys and doctors and secretaries or what have you. It's made up of everybody. A lot of people live in America. We are strippers and we are filmmakers and we work at grocery stores and we drive buses and we take, buses places. It's a whole thing. There's a lot to dissect here, and I'm very, very happy that we're giving people a voice. I'm very happy that we've done the research that we've done, and I'm happy that so many people have reached out to us to express that they've been inspired by our ad to help get their voice out there, because there are a lot of different sections of America whose opinions and whose thoughts on politics, whose needs are not being met. And because of what we've done, they are now happy and excited and confident in putting their own message out there, and they feel like they have a voice as well. So that's very important to me.
Paul and Angela, real quick, 5 seconds before we, I don't like to keep Judge waiting. I've got this message a couple times via the chat, and they wanted to know, because they said that this would make the world difference, were the strippers paid to say this, or were they just doing something that they felt like this was just their duty as an American or, a person who wanted to share a message? That's the question. It's up to you if you want to disclose that.
No, I will. The dancers were paid, but the dancers were paid like the super duper low friend rate. We wanted to pay the dancers because we did not know all of them personally. And to ask somebody who's in that profession to do a freebie when they don't know you, we just wanted people to know that it was legit. So we paid them enough so they knew it was legit, but not enough that someone would do it without, no one's doing it for the money. Like a normal rate for a dancer like that on a normal shoot is like $1,000. Like we're talking like a couple $100. And because they did such a great job, and because business was slow, we kicked them a little bit of money. We raised enough money from the Kickstarter, so we kicked them a little something since they were the stars of the show. But I don't think nobody got rich. Nobody got rich off of what we paid the dancers. Trust me.
What's important to also note is that the dancers that we had in our video, we didn't tell them we were going to pay them. We did a lot of research on on dancers in the Atlanta area to see who would resonate with our message. And we didn't tell them we were going to pay them until the day of. A lot of our dancers were volunteers. You know, me and Angela made the choice to make sure that they were compensated, you know, properly, you know, before they arrived on set. But they didn't know until they arrived on set that we were going to take care of them financially. So I think that's also important to note. We made sure that we found dancers who were politically active, who resonated with the Black Lives Matter movement, and who just really felt like they had a voice that was unheard.
Yeah, Paul,
all right, guys,
one of our other producers. Yeah, so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know, finish your thought, because I'm getting ready to open up Judge's mic. I'm actually going to fall back.
Yes. Paul and one of our other producers went and talked to dancers at the clubs. It's not like we just posted an ad and then took whoever answered the ad. When I posted something on my Facebook, I'm in a group that's feminist women of color. So I knew it's not like I just put it out on my Facebook. I knew by going to a group that was a feminist women of color Facebook group, that's going to have the kind of people that that would be interested in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All
right, guys.
The whole thing.
Thank you, and I appreciate the transparency. All right, guys, right now you're listening to the Judge Joe Brown Show. I'm Valerie Denise Jones, 929-477-1167. All right, so at this time, I'd like to welcome, of course, the man of the hour, 323-646. Welcome, Judge Joe Brown. How are you?
Well, Ms. Valerie, how are you? And thank you for appearing, Deb. The judge is in the house. First thing I'd like to say is I'd like to commend our guest on their novel approach to turning out the LGBTQ vote. That was very interesting what you did. Very subtle, but it seems like it would be effective.
Thank you for having us.
Well,
very happy to be here.
That is what you were doing, wasn't it?
No, we were trying. I don't know where you get that idea from by watching it, but that's
I represented various strip clubs before I got on the bench 30-some years ago, and a lot of dancers, and I saw what appeared to me on several watchings to be trans dancers, and I thought maybe you were appealing to the patrons of trans or gay bars in the Atlanta area where such acts would be popular, and you were trying to get them out to vote. That isn't what you were doing?
No, sir. No, sir. There is a segment. Have you been to? Are you someone who likes strip clubs? Are you someone who patronizes strip clubs?
It's not that I patronize them. I represented quite a number of strip clubs. They paid me good money. They were always reliable. I got the secretaries paid and the rent paid and paid off a lot of bills with what I earned representing strip clubs and strippers years ago.
Okay,
so,
but you've been inside, recently you've been inside them.
I just thought that with the trans strippers that you had demonstrating on the polls that you were appealing to that audience. And,
no, the strippers,
that's where you were getting it. That wasn't what you were doing?
As far as we know, I did not do any kind of, we asked for dancers, and those were the dancers. As far as I know, none of them were trans. I don't know if this is, but Judge, I don't know if this is a joke. If you're trying to make light of something that's very important, because for me, it's not a joke.
Excuse me, your credibility on that, don't try to go there. I have the credibility on that, been doing it for years. I'm all for turning out black votes, but I thought you, considering the number of what appear to be trans dancers on there, were appealing to that community. I thought it was novel and ingenious. You mean you're trying to appeal to a straight black male community?
Yes, and if you go to Atlanta strip clubs, that's what Atlanta dance. Atlanta has a own separate vibe to it, and that's who we were appealing to. And I have to say, I feel like you're trying to make light of our spot, which is very important. It feels like you're trying to make fun of it, and it feels it's very.
I have not talked to a single black man from 19, that's the earliest, youngest, that I know all the way up to mid-70s, which is the oldest I've talked to, that appreciates that. But I do have gay employees that I have on my payroll. They thought it was directed toward them. So I'm just saying, what do you're why would you assume that appeals to a straight black man, that somebody having vote written on their bare buttocks would appeal to getting him to the poll? I noticed you said some of the things about them just getting out of the penitentiary, but since homosexuality is so rampant in a penitentiary, I thought maybe you would be appealing to the appetites of someone who, say, got converted to that persuasion while they were doing time.
Judge,
don't
I have
get
to
the
say
idea
for the record,
that it would be appealed. Why would it appeal to a straight black man?
Okay,
I'm
first
curious.
of all,
I had no idea
culture.
that that's what you were trying to do. So, I mean, enlighten me so I can banish some of my ignorance, please. Why would you say that to a straight black man?
First things first, your ignorance about people being persuaded to being homosexual or not is extremely ignorant. Paul, do you want to take
enough
this one?
people to jail, to the penitentiaries, and I represented enough felons over my 50-year career. I tried 42 first-degree murder cases as a lawyer, and I mean, I had occasion on many occasions to go visit clients that I was handling appeals for while they were doing time, and clients that had gotten out of jail. I thought that's who you were appealing to. So it's not ignorance of what comes out. It's 50 years of experience. So why?
Yes,
I'm just curious. What made you think that a straight black man? I'm sorry. I thought it was a good thing to appeal to the gay and the trans crowd. I thought it was novel and it might work to turn out to vote. But you're actually appealing to straight black guys with that? Why would you think that would appeal to them? Yes, I think I've made that abundantly clear. I think I've made that clear. It's clear you haven't been into. It's clear you haven't been into an Atlanta strip club. Atlanta is very specific in its culture. But you're not hearing me. I think you're stuck. You're telling me you want to listen to what I'm saying, but you're not hearing me. I heard it, but everybody straight has been to a strip club. I mean, that's where folks used to go when you had a bachelor party. But why would you assume that kind of thing would appeal to some straight black guy to get him out to vote? I mean, I never thought of it that way before.
Yes.
I mean,
that's why it's getting
it might be a good idea. I just don't get it, but tell me why.
Because that's Atlanta, and if you don't get it, it's not for you.
Unless you've been to Atlanta strip club, you're not going to get it. In the last 30 days, I've been to Atlanta twice. I spoke to the Foundation of Black American Conference, and first time I went to Atlanta was more than 50 years ago. So I get there. I do work in Atlanta quite often. I mean, they used to have
which strip club did you go to in Atlanta
when you were in Atlanta? What they call the underground there, that was full of strip clubs, and sometimes I'd go there because some of my clients from the Memphis area were working in clubs in the Atlanta underground, so I knew that. But
what year was
this? What's that?
What year was this?
This was back up until 1990. So, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That was the underground.
If you haven't been to Magic City in the last couple of years, you're not going to get it, and nothing that I can say or do. But Judge, I have to say respectfully.
Excuse me. All I'm saying is this. I mean, I represented thousands of strippers, literally, because I was on retainer to a number of strip clubs in the Memphis area. And if I had 100 strippers, 95 of them were lesbian, 5 to 6 of them were bi, and the rest of them were straight. So I would assume that most of the strippers would reflect that ratio, which lawyers I know now who still represent the genre tell me happen to be the truth of the matter. I would have reflected that they would be interested in galvanizing their own particular community, and I was saying, good for them. That sounds great. Now, you tell me that you're targeting straight guys, so that's supposed to be booty bouncing is supposed to appeal to their urge to vote to go change what's in their communities. So you're throwing sex appeal at them?
Judge, we've literally spent 10 minutes talking about. For Judge, respectfully, I let you talk if you're going to let me talk or not. Because if you're not going to let me talk,
I'm letting you talk. But the bottom line is I was commending you. Now you're telling me I got it wrong, and I don't understand what you were doing. Are you saying that you were trying to diffuse the encouragement to that community to come out and vote, meaning the LGBTQ community, who in Atlanta, they do patronize these bars where they have the drag queens and stuff. So I thought that's
what we were trying, and that's not what we're trying to do. And honestly, Judge, it feels like you're being willfully obtuse in terms of not trying to get what we're trying to do. If you don't get it, then you just don't get it.
Why would you have drag queens then dancing to get straight black men to the polls?
I did not have drag queens dancing to anything. I had pole dancers. I had pole dancers.
Women in there? Yeah, but how many of them are trans?
Okay, you know what? If you're not going to let me speak, Judge, then I'll just go. Because I came here to have a conversation, and right now you're being very one-sided about this conversation.
So you want to go run? See,
no, I'm not running. I want to speak. I'm trying to be polite here, and you're not letting me speak.
Got it. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm saying we spent 10 minutes about who this spot is for instead of talking about the issue, which is the government ignoring black people. And this is a culture. This is everybody that you're talking to are people who you know, Judge. You haven't been to Atlanta. You haven't talked to these guys who haven't voted in 5 or more elections. You haven't talked to these guys who need trades in the school so they can get a job. You haven't talked to these guys who sit in jail for that long. And yes, working with them when you're the lawyer is a whole different thing than being friends with them and knowing these people in your family. And that's the issue. The issue is not dancers. The issue is not what their sexual orientation or their gender is. The issue is the government is ignoring black people. And I did something about it. If you thought it was a swing and a miss, fine. I love my country, and I'm going to go down swinging trying to make it a better place. And I really resent the fact of you being willfully obtuse, going, oh, I thought it was for gay people after I said 5 times that it's not. It sounds like you're coming after me and my idea versus the real issue, which is the government that systematically incarcerates and ignores black people, specifically black men. Come on now. You know that.
Well,
right?
You kept using the phrase BLM, Black Lives Matter, and I read their manifesto, what we believe, before they took it down, and they said they were trying to destroy straight black men, the black family, and submit to the leadership of trans brothers and sisters, and we're a gay-affirming network. So I thought that's what you were doing since you kept throwing Black Lives Matter in there. So
then you're wrong about Black Lives Matter.
But now let me ask you a question. Why would you think appealing to the flesh is a legitimate basis for turning somebody black out to vote?
Because I think legitimate is the wrong word. I think people watch these videos all the time that say nothing, that actually do objectify women. And for me, sex work is work. If it's legal, they have to be licensed dancers in Atlanta. It's no different than working as a massage therapist in my mind. Now, that's where me and you probably have a difference of opinion.
I'm not faulting you for doing that. I know a lot of people. Like I said, I represented thousands.
And for you to act like you don't know that sex sells, when literally that's what's been selling things since the history of history. Sex sells. Sex gets people attention. I don't have a big advertising budget to send things out and pay advertising. This is something me and Paul put on our credit cards.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Sorry?
So your idea was to appeal to the sexual fantasies of straight men to get them to vote?
No, that is not what I did at all. And I've explained myself several times, and I can't keep doing it if you're going to keep willfully ignoring what I'm saying.
Put it, take your booties to the polls. See, that sounds like Cardi B and Lizzo and all of that.
I got no problem with Cardi B. She's got a lot of opinions too, and her opinions deserve to be heard the same as everybody else in this country.
Okay.
Get your to a poll is a tongue-in-cheek way of saying, hey, you guys listen to this culture. This hip hop, girls shaking their butts is part of the black hip hop scene, and you guys are watching it anyway. So ours was a tongue-in-cheek way of saying, ha ha. Trick, it's not one of those videos. Now that I got your attention, I want to tell you something important. And if it doesn't appeal to you, then it doesn't appeal to you. But I'll tell you, I have stories of people who said they were on the fence. They were on the fence, who saw my spot, who remembered what it was said, and they are voting now. It is making a difference. And that's all I care about. All I care about is making a difference and making sure black people use their right to go out and be heard when it comes to voting November 3rd.
Well, now let me put something to you that just made me think what I was thinking. I know Georgia law says you cannot vote until you have your citizenship rights restored. You have to go to court to do that. So considering the timing of the advertisement and the up-and-coming election, state, local, federal, there's not enough time for somebody to get through a Georgia court and get citizenship rights restored. You said in your release that you were appealing to the youth, but frankly, for the last 50 plus years.
I never said youth in my release. I said we were targeting.
Well, then
black,
maybe you were misquoted.
We were targeting black men who were already registered to vote but hadn't voted in 5 or more elections. I didn't put all that in the release, but that's who we were.
If they have missed 3 election periods, they're stripped. They have to re-register. So it's too late to register. Just who were you addressing this to? Or was that just in ignorance of what your law is there?
No, you have up until October 5th in Georgia to register to vote. It's not October 5th yet.
Yeah, okay.
Also, most
Monday.
of the people just in Georgia, over 1 million people were registered to vote, did not vote in the gubernatorial election we had a couple years ago. That's 1 million voters that are already in the system. So even if I didn't get everybody to go out and register, I don't care about it registering as much as once you're registered, you need to vote, because just registering is not using your voice. Register to vote. That's what we say on our website, getyourbootytothepoll.com. Register. That means make sure you're in the register. Research. Look up the people on your sample ballot, and then vote. Make sure your vote is heard. Early voting is important, so that way you can avoid the lines, because as you know, I'm sure, there's a lot of voter suppression that's out there.
Okay, now,
but this is crazy. I was a fan of yours, and it feels like you're being purposely obtuse about this, just to kind of make a joke about what it is. So I want to really know what your real opinions are.
Judge, we got Paul Fox on the line.
I know it.
And you were just speaking with Angela. Okay, all right. Thanks, Angela. Appreciate that.
Now, listen. There's a couple things that are strange about this conversation. Suddenly, the first is that all of the women that are in our ad are actually women. They're all real, legitimate women. So it's new to hear you refer to them as transgender, or to think that we're reaching out to a gay and lesbian audience. Now, having said that, in Atlanta, we do have a very deep strip club culture here. There are many, 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 many strip clubs here. It's a big part of Atlanta. I can't even get around that. Now, there's a lot of people inside of this culture who don't vote. There's a lot of men who love TNA but don't like to VOTE. And it's a really, really, really big deal that we deal with here in our area, across our state, across the southern region, and really across the country. So it's perfectly fine if you don't like our ad. I respect that. But we're not reaching out to everybody. We are specifically reaching out to a group of people who are registered to vote, who choose not to because they are so tired and disgusted of the political debates that they see on TV, of the ads they see. It's the same thing that we saw in 2016. And we are going out of our way to remind people that it's not just about the president. And we are using TNA to grab people's attention. That's very, very true. It's true. We're doing it. And it's working. It's working. Folks are looking at it. They're getting drawn in, and then suddenly they're getting a message that they may not have expected to get. And for me, that works.
Well, let me say this. Lack of familiarity with the strip scene in Atlanta. As I told your, co-producer here or sponsor for the ad, 30-some years ago, I represented a lot of strip clubs and strippers in the Memphis area, and a lot of them went to work in Atlanta. And you used to have a thing called the Atlanta Underground that was nationally famous for its interesting spectrum of strip clubs. So, like I said, I'm in Atlanta all the time for business. Last time I was there was 2 weeks ago, and before that, the week before that. So I've been twice in 30 days. I represented thousands of strippers, prostitutes, and more than that, a few thousand of those, a lot of pimps too, over my long career in criminal law. But what I'm saying is that please explain it from somebody who's looking at it from that perspective, somebody who was trying to do something great. And from knowing some of the inside, that's what it looked like. I'm surprised that the appeal was the straight guys, that's all. Because most of the straight guys that are going to vote to begin with should be motivated by not dysfunction, booty call, booty bounce, but issues. And if they are motivated by just booty, perhaps, there's a lot of people that I have encountered have said they don't need to be voting in the first place. So
that's where we disagree. That's where we disagree.
Right now that somebody's attacking me because I thought it was an earnest effort to recruit a certain segment of the community to turn out and vote. Now I found out I'm confused as to what segment it was. But now you're saying none of those dancers are trans? Okay, fine. Good, but that's what I thought the was. They just looked that way. They didn't have any hips and no waist, so I just said, wow, okay. Not like the strippers I represented years ago, but it is what it is, so I stand corrected.
Yeah, but these women are athletes as well. These women are athletes. And that pole dancing is a whole, it's more Cirque du Soleil than it is just shaking, but it's a little bit of both.
Look,
and I'm just saying, I'm saying you did. Not right now, the culture of Atlanta is that this is what these women look like, and they come in all shapes and sizes because all women come in all shapes and sizes.
Judge, is it possible that a person with your legal background and or maybe your age group could possibly misconstrue the intention of this? You're not a part of the current climate that maybe the message isn't coming across.
Ms. Jones, I'm not missing it. I'm just relaying what has been conveyed to me. I have received information that straight black guys, I indicated from the youngest was 19, the oldest was actually 74, were highly insulted by it, and I have received communications from others, including gay employees who I pay good money, say that they thought it was a novel and great approach to the gay community. So I just listened, and I have represented everything from monster mass murderers all the way down to somebody that got busted for public indecency because they did what they did. So I used to have to go travel to the clubs several times a month because the ladies wouldn't find fit time to come to the office and get interviewed. I'd have to go there, and they'd be relieved to get out from under the costumes that were chafing, and they got down there, and I know how they get when they get sweaty and they dance for hour after hour. They were in great shape. Athletes.
Yes, but this is not about the dancers. You're making this about the dancers when it's about the fact that cash bail, trades in schools, and criminal justice are concerns for the black community, and specifically for black men.
I know about.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I know
but those are the issues. The issues is not about the dancers. The issues are the fact that black people, as you know, and you know this, so it feels odd that we're spending so much time talking about the dancers when the actual issues are the fact that governments are ignoring the needs and concerns of black people and specifically black men.
Sure.
That's the issue. But whatever's offensive, it's 10 times more offensive to keep somebody locked up in jail because they can't afford bail than it is to have a grown woman in control of her own destiny give a message that she supports 100%.
Well,
and it's nothing but the patriarchy and sexism. I mean, we need to have a whole separate conversation about teaching men how to respect women versus about whether or not a grown woman can wear what she wants and say what she wants, and whether or not she's allowed to do that. That's the problem. There's so many problems with this conversation right now. I don't even know where to start.
Respect the woman. That's how you teach a man to respect the woman, because she's dancing semi-nude.
No, that's not what I was trying to do. That's not. But the guys who respect women got the message. The people who you spoke to must have a different idea on what respecting women is. The people who saw a woman in control of her own message. If we had put this in a music video, no one would have cared. That's objectifying women. That's using TNA to get your attention.
A lot of people may have something to say negative about gangster rap video and say that it is a glorification of dysfunction if you want to go there. I mean, once
so they should say that, but they should take the energy that they... So take this energy about whether you hate the video or love the video and send it to your elected officials. Those are the people who need all this excitement and all this passion. Send this passion about how you feel about this spot and give it to your elected officials.
We spent a lot of time and a lot of research looking up and making sure that we were correct in what black men want generally. And we worked with the Black Male Voter Project and quite a few other groups just to get that message together and figure out what that needs to be. And so for us, that was a really big deal. The talking points are a really big deal for us. So, I mean, honestly, it's strange to hear what it's
I want to ask you what judge, from the position that he's coming, because I know a lot about his conversations. He's very concerned about things like sex trafficking, misogyny, just the way that women are viewed. And he's asking you, do you think that the best way to parlay that message was to entice men who would probably already have a certain thirst, using half-naked women who are dry reading and legs open, sliding down the poles? That's a way to increase the male demographic. I'm trying to shift the energy here, guys. So excuse me, and try and get another point for those people who really want to hear what Angela and Paul are saying and Judge's position and bring it all together, because I would hope that we would end on some kind of high note. But again, in this climate of race and we can't even say certain things like that. Me Too, sex trafficking, and all of that. That's what he wants you to. Judge, I could be wrong. Don't let me put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to move the conversation from transgender and LGBT. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, Valerie and Judge, we've got one person's mark of degradation is another person's badge of pride. So as far as we're concerned here, we have a lot of women on one side of this movement who believe that they can use their bodies and their voices to say what they want. And we have a lot of people who feel like, no, you cannot do that, and you cannot use both those things at the same time. So we have both of these conversations happening at the same time, and we're dealing with them in real time in this conversation. And, we don't believe in sex trafficking. We don't believe in any of those things at all. That's a big deal, and that's kind of really accusatory, on us. But, that's not what this ad is about. This ad is about grabbing the attention of men who don't really vote and then talking to them about voting points. And that's all that we do on our Instagram and our Facebook and in our ad that we've released everywhere else. So it's that's what it is. I don't know what else you want me to say. We don't want people to sex traffic. We don't want people to, do these things. But at the same time, we're not going to sit here and pretend like men don't like flesh. We're not going to sit here and pretend like men don't like black women. We're using our platform. We're using our creativity to put the message out there. And I'm sorry if it's jarring or strange for you to see politics mixed with sex. But if you look at every politician who's running for office right now, especially on the national level, it's politics mixed with sex. And it has been for the last 30 years. So I don't know what you want from us for that. But we're getting our message out, and we're getting it out to people who don't vote. And that's pretty much the objective of this entire campaign.
Right. Well, and I do want to end on a high note because... Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I you trying to anticipate me. But let me just say this. If a black man hasn't voted by now, he's not into the issues and what he's likely to do if he comes out and votes on a spur because he's been appealed to by flesh. He's likely to go for the propaganda and vote Democratic. That's a count against the commercial sex thing. Is you can't escape the thousands of strippers that I have represented, and most of them tell me they disdain men generally, have men in low respect, and they have a general philosophy that if a damn fool wants to pay good money to look at my cooch or fantasize about it, I'll take every dime he's got. So when some people who come from a class that has very low esteem for men in general put out a commercial that shows low esteem for men in general to appeal to their base interest to get them to vote, which if they were going to vote anyway would have been generated, the urge would have been generated by, shall we say, more conscientious reasons. So now you just want to get them to vote and vote for who they still haven't addressed the question of who to vote for. So it looks it's just someone to come up with a preconceived notion of what black men stand for, which is essentially a negative one coming from people that are nominally black. And it's just kind of novel to me for somebody to say they're doing a favor to black folk by appealing to the basest of emotions for the crassest of purposes with the worst kind of perception of what they are about and what is meaningful to them, and say it's justified to go, once again, glorify dysfunction, which we have been suffering from for 50 years. Now, that's what I've heard. Now, I haven't even gotten into my opinion of it. I'm just trying to be the polite host to give everybody a chance to explain what they've got. And I'm not, without my own personal understanding, I haven't even got there yet. But I'm just saying I'm asking you to please explain that which looks very bad to anybody who is an objective person who is not caught up in the middle of disrespect for black masculinity. Now, that's all I'm asking. Somebody explain this to me. It looks bad. Now,
50 years.
In other words, you know that you've been on the plantation. You love it. So come off the plantation. They have people running that'll make you comfy. They'll pay for everything for you, keeping you in the down position if you just come back on the plantation. I mean, that's a lot of black folk too, but do you appeal to that? You like decisions being made for you. You don't like to have free will. You like to go out and have somebody tell you what to do. You like to get locked up because you can't make it on your own and somebody's giving you several square meals a day, someplace with a roof over your head, bedding, and telling you what to do because you can't manage your own affairs. Oh, well, yeah, there are those too. But I don't think it would be appropriate to make an appeal to that to get somebody to come out and vote.
But
why not? Because
that's how you stop the cycle.
The reality of the situation is that we have people who
Yes, sir.
Valerie,
yes,
listen. To be fair, there's a question that has to be asked. Since it has been stated that the performers were paid and compensated at a low level, and it had production costs to get this out, who did the financing for this? Please, if you could respond to that.
Paul and I put everything on our credit cards and then had a GoFundMe, so we've been paying ourselves back with the GoFundMe. So we had donations, and, you know, people would kick in $5, $10, $100, $500. So we did not have any corporate sponsorship or any one major backer. It was Paul and I were going to pay for it. And when we pitched the idea, so many people wanted to help, we had to turn people away. So people were like, well, can I at least kick in money? And that's why we started the GoFundMe.
So at this time, Angela, I don't know, ladies first, would you like to say whatever you want to say, and then Paul?
Yeah, I'm really dismayed and disappointed that it feels like what Judge was saying is that certain black men's voices don't deserve to be heard, because if they're not already engaged in the voting process, then they shouldn't be engaged. That's what I heard. So if that's not correct, then please explain that. But part of what we're trying to do is get people engaged. What we heard and what we've learned in our research is a lot of people don't vote not because they don't want to vote, it's because nobody's talking to them. No one is connecting the dots to them. You know, and we can't blame somebody else because they didn't go to a school good enough to break stuff down to them, or that they're working 5 jobs and don't have the time to sit down and figure out what the issues are when they're just trying to figure out how they're going to feed their kids the next day. So our job is to say, okay, what we wanted to do with this spot is to say, hey, these are things. You think about the president, and you're like, whoever's president doesn't affect you who you are if you don't have enough money to eat the next day. You don't see how that connects. So we were trying to show the guys that were invested enough to be registered, but not invested enough to actually get all the way to the poll, why their vote is important. And we need people who believe that Black Lives Matter in our government. We need people who understand that black people aren't somebody that's an afterthought or something that don't need to be considered at all. When we're being run out of our own neighborhoods with gentrification, when we're being incarcerated at huge rates, you know, and respectfully, a 75-year-old guy who went to, used to defend strippers 30 years ago does not understand hip-hop Atlanta culture. It's one of those things you're not going to get it unless you get it. And if you don't like it, then great. Take that energy and put it towards your elected officials. Demand the things that you need in your community in order to be able to get things going. You know, trades in schools is not an education issue. It's an economic issue. If you can fix a toilet or fix somebody's electricity, you always have a job. No matter what the economy is, those guys work and those guys make 6 figures. And you could have your own business and not have to worry about whether or not someone wants to hire you or not. And these are things that are very basic things that can help black people all together. There's a million more that we could put on the list, but as soon as that we can all show people that these down-ballot races, these down-ballot issues, those are the things that can make or break our community. And the fact that people keep wanting to turn this into an issue about respectability politics or trying to make fun of who our dancers are, who are all amazing. They're so good. I stand by this. I stand by this PSA. I stand by my idea. I stand by what me and Paul did together. I mean, I'm so proud of what without Paul, I never would have been able to pull this whole thing off by myself. Like, Paul was like rock star throughout this entire process. So, like, I am proud of what we've done. And I literally had a friend of mine works as a nurse, and in her telehealth, you know, you have to do the virtual telehealth with the people. She said the video came on in the background while she was talking to one of her patients. And her patient's like, oh, my gosh, have you seen this video? Not knowing that my friend knew me. And she's like, man, my husband wasn't even going to vote, and now he's going to vote because of this video, because he didn't even think about that stuff. The fact that we even have people talking about cash bail, trades in schools, criminal justice. People were barely talking about criminal justice. They were not talking about cash bail and trades in schools. But now it's part of the conversation. So we need to move away from the respectability politics of it all and talk about what the point was, which is let's try to make America a place that's good for everybody. Because I love America, and I'm tired of seeing it go to a place where we're going back to where it was founded, like rich white landowners are the only ones who are important. Every American citizen's voice matters. Screaming out to the rooftops. Make sure that you are heard. Your voice matters. Black votes matter. Black voices matter. And no matter who you are, whether you serve time, whether you dance for extra money, whether you have to do whatever you have to do in order to get by, your voice matters. And I am offended by anybody who feels otherwise.
Thank you. Hang tight, because I want to get your social media contact information. Judge, she addressed you. Did you want to say something real quick regarding her question, the question she posed at the top of her commentary?
Well, let me put it this way. Black people used to be respectable one of our downfalls over the last year is glorification of a lack of respectability. You have to be in a position where you have a purpose for voting, and if you will galvanize the vote for no reason at all other than appealing to your baser instincts, then you probably should not vote. We have glorified dysfunction over the last 50 years. It's been our downfall. The hip-hop culture is not an addition to world culture. It's a distraction. It is a reflection of the baser aspects of black community. It has given people the idea that we are all about being on the low end of things. Yes, there are people who are economically at the bottom, but they're decent people. You don't appeal to somebody's prurient interest to get them to do something that is a responsibility of being a citizen, being a man, being a woman. The commercial is really off kilter, and I would be interested, and I'll give everybody a chance to respond to it, if they would be willing to tell us what they're registered as, independent, Republican, Democrat, or what. So we can see whether their registration and their inclinations as voters has anything to do with the seemingly neutral aspects of what they are advocating, which to me, that's just simple dysfunction, and it does nothing at all until somebody gives a quarter or a flash of a butt on a pole to get you out of vote. Now, out to vote. If you do that, you're not voting effectively because you're not using a franchise to advance your cause. So that's like getting a shiny quarter slice of watermelon and a shot of whiskey for your vote and giving it to whoever gave you the little gratuity. But then again, that's truly his opinion, and he is what he is, so we'll see. Now, with that stated, if anybody wants to tell us what their political affiliations are, maybe that will shed light on the subject.
Judge, it's possible we might have a part two, and we could do that at this time. I want to do a time check. It's 5:11 right now. Paul, if you have anything you want to say,
can I just clarify something?
Come back to you. Sure.
Let her
Is it okay if I clarify something real quick?
We can take it long. I'll just be quiet and let you guys go as long as you're here. I was just trying to respect
I just need to clarify something real quick, if I could.
Sure. Okay.
So the judge has repeatedly said that we're using, TNA and provocative images in order to get people to vote, and that's, I think, missing the point of the spot. We used pole dancers, and we knew it was going to be, it was going to not be, it's not your average spot. We used the pole dancers just to get people's attention. We used the issues to encourage them to vote. If we had just had pole dancers saying vote, 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 that's just, there's no reason, there's no justification for that. All we use the pole dancers for is to get people's attention. It was the point of the spot was to almost trick people to think it was just another ratchet video, and then, we got your attention. These are the reasons. We don't think nobody should vote because they saw a half-naked woman. No one would vote because they saw a half-naked woman. The reasons that they should vote are the reasons we bring up in the spot. So it's a misconception to think we're trying to use sex to get people to vote. We're using sex to get people's attention so that we can use the issues and the reality to get them to vote. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay. But context is everything. Still, the question is up there, what party, if any, are you affiliated with, or do you consider yourselves neutral? Because it's context. See, if the Democrats...
we are neutral. Our opinions that are affiliated in the video are not associated with either party right now.
Okay.
It'd be nice if they were. It'd be amazing if Democrats or Republicans would totally take up for any of our opinions, but they're not. So they are neutral by default.
Nobody gets it that some people are very concerned about, instead of appealing to somebody's higher principles to get them to come out to vote, this is an appeal to their baser instincts. That's...
No, but I just clarified that, Judge. It's not. It's an appeal to their lives. The baser instinct was to get their attention. That's not how, we're not using that. Nowhere in the ad do we use sex to say, guys, you need to vote. We go there and we break down how they can make their communities better, how they can make their lives better. That's what's going to motivate people to vote. And what has? People have come back to us and said it's a different. And I'll tell you, in Atlanta, people from Atlanta get it. Whether they like the spot or not, they understand what we're trying to do. And it's not about the sex. It's about the issues. And that's what it's so disappointing about this conversation, is that you seem more concerned about the fact of policing what women are allowed to do and what they're allowed to say and what they're allowed to wear than the issues that plague black people in general. And that somehow only decent black people deserve to be heard is part of the reason we're in this mess in the first place. There's no big house in the fields. It's not like it's a difference. We're all black people. We're all slaves until we decide not to be. So let's make sure that the politicians and elected officials hear us and know that we are powerful enough that they will lose their jobs if they don't take care of us, because they work for us, not the other way around.
I have a very beautiful granddaughter, and I'm concerned about her future. She is drop-dead gorgeous and very intelligent. So I'm looking at this, and maybe somebody will bring it up as a historical moment when she's a bit older, and she will see nominally black women pole dancing trying to get out the vote, and that will legitimize to her something that maybe is not where she ought to be going. I have many young girls, 16 through 20-something, in high school and college that I've addressed during assemblies tell me they want to know how Kim Kardashian did the amateur porn movies so they can be rich, or how they can become successful prostitutes and transition into being a celebrity like Cardi B, or doing what Lizzo does, twerking in front of a Lakers audience so they can get a following. And that's not exactly what the young women, black women of America need to be doing in terms of aspirations. I'm looking at young males anywhere from 11 to 12 to 15 to 18 to 20 who will see this, and if not now, in the future, and get the message that this is okay. It's not. I see gangster hip-hop rap video where the so-called lusty women that are supposed to gratify their misogynistic tendencies are not really sex objects. They're their mamas, aunts, and grandmamas actually up on the stage, at least is what's represented. I get black males who don't ideate in terms of the things men ought to think of, but they get motivated by a slice of watermelon, a shot of whiskey, and a shiny new quarter to go out and bestow a vote upon somebody they know nothing about. So maybe I'm looking at it if you look at our website, we give resources on how to find out your sample ballot and how to research who these people are on the ballot, what they do. That's what we encourage. It's register, research, vote. We are encouraging people to become knowledgeable of the process. And it's disappointing. To think right now there's a fundamental disagreement as to whether or not this is right or wrong. You believe it's wrong. I believe it's fine. I don't think it's right, wrong, or whatever. It's a job. And right now it's very concerning to me that you have yet to bring up the issues that we talked about. You've only talked about the policing of women's bodies. That's all you've talked about in this whole conversation. Woman has a right to do whatever in the hell she wants to do with her right. Flash it, have an abortion, or whatever else. But it's kind of like cash. If you've got currency that's issued by the United States government, it's legit. You can have it, flash it wherever you want to. But some places, due prudence would dictate you don't flash it because somebody might hijack you and your case, or it might cause some deleterious consequences. So a woman has the absolute right to do whatever she wants to do.
But what's your opinion on cash bail? I'd like to hear your opinion on the issue. What are your opinions on cash bail? What are your thoughts on criminal justice reform? What are your thoughts on trades and schools? Because that's what the spot is about. It's weird that you only are focusing on the bodies part, because that's not what everybody else is focusing on.
I don't really care if you think that our dancers are transgendered or we have some kind of weird gay message that we're trying to put out there. That's not really what I'm about or we're going to talk about at all. If we've convinced someone that they should hold their politicians accountable, that they should pay attention to who's on the ballot, and they should vote responsibly, then we have done our part. Outside of that, it's not really important to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Valerie,
all right. And again,
back on here?
Yes,
yeah,
Judge,
you're back,
live.
Judge.
Yes, Judge. You're live.
All right, let's say this. It is important to me who they vote for, why they vote, and what they vote for. We've been doing this for several years on this subject. Person seems to be unaware of the fact that just about every other time we do this show, we talk about the issues that impact sentencing and prison reform, justice reform. Personally, the entire state of Tennessee had an 80% felony recidivism rate. For the 10-year period of study, I only had 18%. We talked about manhood campaigns, manning up, and what that constituted and why that is important to society. And here we have people trying to justify out of abject ignorance of what actually goes on an appeal to baser instincts that destroys the concept of man up in manhood, masculinity, and masculine direction of the black community into a base appeal that has taken them over through the last 50 years of adverse propaganda so they will remain in a dysfunctional condition. 50 years ago, we would have called that counter-revolutionary. And now, nobody even understands what that means now, so I won't go there. But let's just say it's an irresponsible appeal, and hell is littered by people with good intention. The road to hell, so to speak. So this is another one of those things of great intentions having a very bad consequence that is insulting to the people that are on the way toward manhood, responsibility, masculinity, directing their communities in a logical, reasonable, rational fashion with attention to duty, honor, obligation, making where they live a more peaceful, secure place filled with economic prosperity, opportunity, morality, ethics, and a sense of purpose. See, this is one of those things that this commercial represents that has been the antithesis of that objective to establishing, once again, healthy black communities that can do for self. So that you appeal to these things submits to anybody who listens, sees, or is aware of it, an opinion that says these makers of this production second on to the image that is out there, which is a false image of the negativity, dysfunction, deregulated morality and ethics of black men. And it is very bad. And it is precisely the type of thing that needs to be countered. Now, I've offered every opportunity to explain this. I get bombasted by somebody trying to lecture me on something they know little to nothing about. And I do have expertise, and I even probably am acquainted with more strippers than they are, some of whom 30 years after I last represented them, still stay in touch with me just to talk about life. So some of what I told them actually comes from some old strippers. Now, they may be new, but they talk about I'm not familiar with the Atlanta stripping scene, but like I said, many a field trip going to what used to be known as the Atlanta Underground and their various and Sunday strip clubs to retrieve some of my clients who were in a forfeiture status. I suppose that didn't count. And the fact of the matter is human nature hasn't changed much over thousands of years. Now, we need black people, a black community, black women, a black family, and black children who are once again focused on decency. And if they focus on decency instead of on side issues that are negative, they might be able to determine that they want to put in the effort to become first-class people who have no issues with who they deal with because they feel like they are equal to anyone, where they have the political power to do what they do. And quite frankly, the whole thing sounds like an appeal from the Democratic Party side to go get black folk to stay on that Democratic Party plantation with no benefits for their votes. So I will say that. Now, I have yet to hear anything to counter the implication. I tried to be nice because there are people I know on the other side who think that's exactly what it was because they couldn't fathom how that would be something to get a black man out to vote. If he was going to vote, he already was of the determination to vote. not because you flashed some booty. Like, good Lord, what are black men supposed to be? Victims of a booty call or a booty flash, and that's supposed to motivate them? What in the hell is going on? This is a sick way of thinking of stuff. Both of you two, excuse me, need some psychiatric counseling, treatment, and therapy if you think your own people are that low, crass, and unprincipled. Where in the hell have you been all of these years not to see the black folk craving some morality and purpose? Why do you think all of these sisters go and drag their children to church where they're starving to hear a message of what you are supposed to be doing? Now, excuse the hell out of me. Go on with your propaganda, and I'll come back later and deal with it. But, I'll just listen.
I heard what you said about the Democratic plantation, and honestly, our organization is nonpartisan. I am not, but I also don't always vote straight down the ticket. Because that's why we made it That's why we made it nonpartisan, is because we didn't want to tell everybody just vote Democrat, because not all the Democrats are out there for us. That's why that's why research is part of our campaign. Find out who these people are. Find out what they're about, and then hold them accountable. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then vote them out and vote in somebody who will. That's what we want people to do. We want people to engage in what's going on. And I understand that you have your opinions on what's right and wrong, and that's everybody has the right to feel what's right and wrong. I feel that I feel very disappointed and feel very strongly that you need some counseling, thinking that only people who are already invested in the democratic process deserve to have their voices heard. That's shameful to me. But that's my opinion. That's my opinion, and I think that's we can respect that each other has our opinions on what it is. I stand by my spot. I've already said everything I need to say about it. I hope that no matter how you feel about the spot, that people will find out, will pull up their sample ballots, do a quick Google search on the people that they're voting for. You can call a lot of people that are already in office, and you'd be surprised how many local officials will actually reach back out to you. You can let them know what your concerns are and find out what they're going to do about them, and then call them 6 months later and be like, hey, you said this. What are you doing about it? Have you done it? Take all of this passion that you have, either pro or against the PSA, and put it towards your elected officials. That's all I care about. So I understand and respect your opinion. I respectfully disagree. And, that's it. I still stand by it. I'm proud of the work that me and Paul did on the spot.
Well, I'm glad you are. But, by the way, I was looking at your summations, or rather kind of a lack thereof, of Cobb County that intrudes into metropolitan Atlanta. Where's the homework on the people that are running out there? Doesn't seem to be much of any. So, I understand you're trying to do right.
What are you talking about, sir?
Cobb County
what are you talking about?
Cobb County intrudes into metropolitan Atlanta. If you paid attention to what's going on out there, a lot of it impacts black women. I don't see that reflected on what you've got on your site. Next bloody doggone thing is, just because you want it to be the right thing does not mean it does not have the exact opposite effect. That's one of the problems right now, is a whole lot of people come up and do the new social media, the new media landscape. They get a voice for things that really are well-intentioned but come up with some very bad results. Now, that's my opinion, but the bottom line is you see, it's leadership, and leadership doesn't ask, it gets imposed. So I assumed what I was looking at was a typical and appropriate effort to impose leadership. I'm pushing back on it because I think it's wrong. If you had these strippers say, look, this is what we do, but there is something else going on, so get your mind out of the gutter and start getting it into something that's clean. Get into the issues. Think about your family. You see, I've seen commercials
I think that we do prove that issue, and you kind of brushed over it.
You didn't do it. You pandered. You had an idea, and the idea that you had about what would work reflects what the problem is, but you don't get it. And I can't convince you, but others understand it. The very fact that you think this is appropriate reflects one of the problems that is impacting and deeply affecting black folk and their circumstances. Now, that's the real issue. You've had 50 years of tearing down what used to be there. It's come to the crunch. It has not worked, and more of the same is not good for the people. That's the position some have, and I think I'm reflecting that position. Now, you're entitled to do whatever the hell you want to do in America. You're entitled to state your opinion. So am I, and so are some other people. And they don't like what they see because they are men. They glory in the fact that men are responsible for the ethics and morality of the places they live, and they don't like what's reflected. Now, that's a reality. So either those men are going to prevail or those who aren't in that group are going to keep on doing what they're doing, and there will be no reform, and we'll just continue to slide down.
You know, I look forward to seeing what those men and what you have to say about what we should be doing better, because we made something that you're talking about right now. And here we are discussing that issue and making it a bigger deal than what it could have been if we had never made anything at all. So by all means, tell us, how can we grab the attention of the people and also express our message of making sure that voters pay attention to who's on the ballot.
But also disenfranchised. How do we get back people who aren't interested in the process because they just don't have the energy, because they're working 5 jobs, because they are just trying to figure out how to eat the next day? How do you get that person's attention to break it down, how they can help?
Man does not live by bread alone. That is an old saying, and it's true. Sometimes people have to deal with there are higher purposes than expediencies.
All right, Paul, please, if you could.
All right, what do you want? You can't ask for more than that. I mean, just vote responsibly. Look at the people on your ballot and make sure that they're who you want to vote for. It doesn't matter how much ass we shake in your face or how much ass no one shakes in your face at all. Just vote and make sure that you know who you're voting for. Make sure you know the referendums you're voting for. It doesn't matter who or what or why, as long as you know your reasoning behind it. And that's how I feel. And that's I can't express that more. Just know who you're voting for and know why you're voting for them.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again. If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.